Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have an updated version of the new Gamma leader that came out of BT17. This has been one of my favorite leaders, and it's been feeling pretty good. It's kind of like a Soul Striker leader in a lot of ways. There are some restrictions for it, but it does have a lot of cool in-archetype cards, and even some of the archetypes specific stuff is pretty lenient from time to time. So I already made a list with this, but then I saw this list from the regional that happened earlier this month. So this is the list of Jacob Burton. He was able to get top 8 with this list at the PPG Origins event, the Saturday one, which had about 60 people in it. And there are some cool changes for it and some things I kind of considered. And we're just going to kind of go over the deck that I've been running and kind of everything from that. So just an updated deck list, but in general, I think when I first made this list, I was like super duper heavy into like just having blue androids and red ribbon, especially since the leader is very restrictive to it. Again, it does have this cool auto that on the awaken side at the end of turn, you get to add 3 android cards from your energy to your hand, and they have to be androids, and there have to be 3. It's not up to 3, it's 3. And then at the end of your turn, you get to draw 1, add up to 3 blue android cards from your hand into your energy, and they are in active mode unless they have energy exhaust. And then till the end of your opponent's next turn, you can't activate the skills of non-androids battle cards with a cost of 7 or less in all areas. So real quick too, it's 7 or less. A lot of people get kind of caught by that. So this is an 8 cost, so it's fine to run as our secret rare as well as the Chilled Armies Reinforcement. So it's an extra card, so you get to activate it still. And then the token you get out of it, even though it's non-android, it has a cost. It doesn't have a cost associated with it since it's a token. And since there's no cost, it's not 7 or less, so you can still activate blocker on it too, which is kind of nice. So I think Chilled Armies Reinforcement just makes a little bit more sense for the deck. You can still run Dimension Magic as well, and you might want to run that at like 1 or 2, but I feel like most of the time you have a lot of energy kind of open for this deck. The kind of other cards we do have the Majin Buu, and this is based on his list as well. That's the one, and from Jacob, he said just like, oh, well, I don't actually have Hatchyak, so I'm not I'm going to play Buu, which I have, but I do really like Buu for what he does for this. It is double strike, and then auto Spirit Boost 2. When this card is played from your hand, choose one of your opponent's Unison cards and gain control of it, which is nice. And then also activate Malian or Battle for 2. Play this card from your hand. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards for the turn. So it's kind of like a more flexible version of Kai. I think a lot of decks are really relying on their Unisons right now, especially like Spaceship and stuff. And so just being able to steal your opponent's Unison before they're able to do anything with it is very, very good. Especially with like Cooler, right? Cooler is really important with its empower chains and doing stuff like that. So if you can just steal their Unison so they have to start all over with their empower stuff, you probably win the game. So I think that's a really nice add for it, and I do like it in the deck. So that's something I want to try out, and I've been trying out a little bit. One thing you do have to consider is that you do need 2 green energy, so it is a little bit tricky to pay for it sometimes. Obviously, we do have the Aandroidd 17 and 18 from the set, so it's dual attack, but if your leader is a blue red ribbon army card, you can negate this card's energy exhaust skill in all areas. So being able to do that just helps you get your green energy, which you also need the green energy for the 9-drop cell anyways. So that is kind of important there. But this is still a fantastic way to end the game, especially being able to just do this every turn starting at turn 4. Being able to do it for 4, you get to recover your energy back with your leader's auto, and then if you have 3 androids, you get to untap your 3 energy and kind of go from there. Some additional kind of cards that were added to these. So first, I'd say just more like extra cards and stuff. Something I was worried about was not finding an android, especially since the skill off the Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 is that you just place the top card of your energy. So if you have 3 androids, and let's say you play the Aandroidd 17 from it, and you want to make sure that it's replaced by an android so you can get the untapped 3 at the end of turn. So these I did bump up the he's always been at 4 for me, but I did add some Aandroids 18s as well, just to kind of help the blue android stuff as well. And so what you can do is you can play this for 1, and then you can use your leader's auto first to play the top card of your deck, and then use the effect of Aandroidd 18 to replace a card. So let's say you just do this, and then like the top you get the Great Ape Son Goku, and from there you can then use like the Android 18 or 17 effect auto on play to replace the ape with something that with an Android from the top 5. So normally top 5 you will find an Android, and that's normally good enough for that. So I think that's pretty consistent going from there. We also are just running ape in general, though. This was, I think a lot of people were thinking about running this just because there are a lot of turns where you just have a lot of energy and you're not really doing a lot with it. So being able to pay 2 to draw 2, I think is fantastic. I think 3 is the sweet spot. You might want to add a 4th one. Sometimes you do get it stuck in your energy, which also stinks when you're running the Beerus Ball, because you do need to have all blue energy for this to work. So if you do have a great ape in your energy, not only do you have an off color, but you also need to have that additional you won't be able to play your Beerus Balls through it. So I'm only running 2 of these. I think that's fine, and that does help us out. Bean is still good. I think the only other kind of card I've been talking about is like the 2-drop check land. There are a couple kind of cards from there where you want to, and I've got my eyes on here, I'm going to put them in the side deck. So there are a couple of Android 17s I've been thinking about. If you want to put more green into this deck, you totally can. But there's the Key Chandler. If your leader card is a blue Android and you have 5 or more life, you can negate the energy exhaust in this in all areas. So this is kind of nice, especially since we are pretty defensive most of the time. So it's not too difficult to have that 5 energy most of the time. And also, if your leader card is a blue Android card, you can play this card in its owner's drop from your energy. If you do play it from your drop area, which means it gets around this, I believe. Is played from your energy. Yeah, so he's played from your drop, so you don't get to replace the energy, which kind of sucks. But you also have a active main. Place 1 card from your energy into its owner's drop area. Choose up 1 of your opponent's using cards and remove a marker from it. So like it doesn't really do anything for this list. So that's kind of the reason why. But there's also the other Android 17 here, which is the Android 17 Protector of Wildlife. So if you have you could just, it's a check land, which, I mean, you don't even mind playing this for cost, because when your opponent combos, choose up to 1 of those cards, place at the bottom of his owner's deck, and get this skill filtration of the game. So it's like a discard 1 somewhat. So that's kind of nice. I like the idea of it. And so I've thought about putting 1 or 2 in just so you get more blue-green energy if you want to do more of that kind of stuff. We are running Android 16, but more so just because he's like a discard 1 who's also an Android. And obviously a dual attack blocker revenge is good too. But if your leader card is blue or green, when you play this card or you use it in a combo from your hand, you either get your opponent to choose 1 card and then discard it, or you get to play. You just always do the discard, like almost always. There's no 1-drop blue Androids in this build, anyways. So that's something to consider there. But I do like the blue green stuff, and obviously in Jacob's list, he did side like the Android 16 Steadfast Ally. Which you can use to get the Android 21 out, which is able to do some crit damage. So I don't think Android 21 is too bad of a choice there. The only issue is that sometimes you want these cards in your energy, and so you have to cycle them back in to do the untap. So that's why I like this guy, because you can always have an energy exhaust as long as you charge like one of these guys first and kind of go from there. But even then, like the issue with it is that you want to be able to play the, what is it? These guys. No, not this guy. This is still good. I think this is still the super combo you want to run all the time, because you can search it off top 5 off your 17 and 18. And even if it comes into rest, end of turn, you can add it to your hand. So that's kind of nice. But the thing about this is that sometimes you want to play this card from your energy, which is good, but also can be a little bit difficult to get your effects off to. So that's something you have to be careful about. It's not too difficult to find these, though. There's a lot of ways to search it out, and we kind of go from there. There's also the Android 14-15, the Ravengers, and I didn't like this card for a little bit, strictly because I was just like, well, we're already running 50 cards. This is adds it to 50 to 54. Why would we want to play this card when it's just kind of a search, and if it just brings us over the consistency point? And Jacob kind of told me that it's kind of a better spot of one. You discard it, which means that sometimes you have a hard time getting your first blue combo card for your Unison. So just being able to set it up automatically is kind of nice. And just the fact that this Unison gets a lot of value in the matchups. It's virtually unkillable unless your opponent just puts a lot of pressure into it, which is normally fine. But you pretty much start your opponent's turn with this having 4 markers on it, and you just kind of go from there. So this is a really strong Unison for not only this leader, but just in general for most blue cards. Just whenever a player attacks, you get to add a marker to this card. So you can play it, you can swing with it yourself. It's at 3 markers, and then your opponent swings at it. It's at 4 markers, and it's a 20k for the first swing, as long as you have a 5k combo in your drop area. It's very, very powerful. I think there's a lot of good stuff for it. So being able to take advantage of it from this, being able to have an in-archetype way to find it, because you have to have a blue Red Ribbon army to find it off this. Otherwise, you'd have to do like a blue 1-drop that searches a 2-drop Unison and kind of go from there. But I think this is a good card, and I don't think this is going to be... if there's like another blue good deck, like for example, I could see this do really, really well in a Vegito deck, because you want to be able to... the fact that this can give itself dual attack and 25k, and then, during the battle, you can give it triple attack, I think can be really good. So I think this is a cool card. I think it does a lot, and it helps out a lot of kind of matchups. So I think it's a good build, or a good card for what we're doing. 18s are good as a good counterplay. It's only a 1 cost during your opponent's turn, though, so you have to be careful for that. I do like adding a couple of these Aandroidd 15s. They do cost a little bit more, but one, you can play it from your energy, which means it's technically a free +1 whenever you play it from your energy, as well as if you... what else is it? Yeah, you can play this for 2 on your opponent's turn. So there's been times like I try to swing and they try to Mecha Freeze on me, and I'll just Aandroidd 15 it back into their hand, and then I can attack for the rest of the turn. So I think that's something worth it as well. So just at 2, especially since it's very searchable and friendly. So I like the idea of the card, and I've been playing with it. The other card is like the Aandroidd 17 Turning the Tide. And I think this is just a good one-of to have in the deck anyways. You can just have it chilling in your energy all game. And then, like, let's say the end of turn 6, you add it back to your hand with your leader effect, and then you just drop it turn 7, and then you're really good. Especially this pairs really nice with the fact that your leader says you add up to 3 blue Aandroidd cards from your hand into your energy. So let's say you tap out, and then and then you go down to 0 cards in hand, right? At the end of turn, you can just add 4 cards from your energy back into your hand, and you don't have to replace them at all. So that does give you like a big edge during like these mirror match things, or if you drop Aandroidd 17 at the right time, and you kind of can get a lot of value from there. Hit is just kind of good, just as a backup Unison. I do like having backups just to make sure that we can, pretty consistently awaken on turn 3. Being able to draw a card for 1 is good. We sometimes play cards with a rival, so you can sometimes add a marker with it. And then also for just 2 additional energy, making sure to flip your opponent's leader back to their backside. Some leaders just lose because of that, and that's really, really funny. So I think it's fine enough to run it too. It's a good little tech card, and I do like running it in the list. Some other cards to talk about. I think Dirty Burst is one of the stronger cards to consider. I think I'll probably put it in the main, but being able to just have a counterattack inherently is good. But for 1, and so this costs 2 to do the counterplay, because 1 for the card and 1 for the counterplay. You get to draw 1 card. Your opponent can't attack with battle cards with energy cost of 7 or more for the turn. So if you see your opponent play like a big boy, for example, this big 9-drop cell, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to Dirty Burst, and then they can't swing with it, even though they just played it. So for 2, you disrupted their 4 energy play, and that feels pretty good. And you also get to cycle a card, which is kind of important to this deck. So I think you should try to find room for this in the main. Obviously, this list was a best of 1 pre-side, though, so you can be a little bit more flexible with what the actual main deck and the actual side deck are most of the time. He said that he mostly mained a lot of these Dirty Bursts, and I think that is a good call for what we're doing. I think I talked about too, and for the record, I'm not trying to run 2 secret rares. This is just talking about some other cards to put in the deck, all right? But the Hatchyak is so good, and I don't think that needs to be said. I think I like Kibito Kai for what it does, and it's just a little bit more disruptive. I think everyone's going to assume you're playing Hatch because it's broken, and just because this is essentially Hatch in a lot of ways. You prevent your opponent from attacking with battle cards for the turn, and you get to steal their Unison. So they either have to play another Unison, or they only have their leader swing left for the turn. And I think that's kind of good. Especially, there's some weird spots where you take the Unison, and you're like doing super good for it. Like it just helps you out way more than it would have helped your opponent. So especially if like your opponent has like a blue Majin Buu Unison and they're planning on just sitting behind that for the entire game, then you can just steal it for 2, and then they don't have a blocker and they don't have the -1 to get rid of this, and then they're just kind of out of luck. So I think that's cool. I think that helps you out. Absolute Confidence is a fun card in a deck that just is going to have 3 energy open at the end of every turn. It's a cool card to kind of tech in, because you can, worst case, like cycle a card or remove a marker from something that's going to be like a big swing, especially since we do have like these, like the green Frieza from Cooler is going to be a big double striker that they're trying to swing in with. You can remove a marker from it and then they don't win anymore, so that's kind of nice. I think that's all I want to talk about this guy. I don't know. I've been really enjoying Gamma. I think it's a cool list. It has a lot of cool interactions, and sometimes, like, if you're just able to find all your pieces and just keep going off, you're just going to outvalue your opponent very, very quickly and very easily, and your opponent's going to have a hard time kind of keeping up with it, which is really fun to see. And I think it's a strong deck, and we're probably going to see a couple more finishes with it in the next couple weeks. But that's going to be my updated list. Let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know where you guys are thinking with your Gamma list right now. And again, thank you to Jacob for showing me the original list and talking to me during my stream on their choices and stuff. But that's going to be it for me. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all next time.